name's Freya Rodriguez. I am one of the volunteer clinicians with VTMHI.
What inspired you to become a therapist?
Ooh, good question. I would say I've always had a passion for wanting to help others and to, I've always been good at talking with people about the things that are troubling with them. Um, And it's just always been something that I've loved. So when I got into my undergraduate and I went in undecided, I actually took a course that, looks at personality and looks at the things that you might be good at. And therapy was one of the things that went on that, or social work. And so I did my undergrad in psychology, and I just thought it was really interesting. I really like the influences that play on people of how we turn out in life and the different dynamics and, the way that you are raised in a family and the way that builds a foundation for how you live the rest of your life. I just think it's really fascinating.
And then how did you get involved with the Virginia Telemental Health Initiative?
So I found VTMHI after I graduated with my master's. And finding supervision is really hard, especially if it's not provided in your immediate, space of work, was my situation. And so I actually got connected to it through a friend, and I think this was in their pilot year, so it hadn't even opened up as much as it is now. And I applied. I did some research. I looked into it, looked at what they were asking for, and that's really it. I applied, and I've been with them, I think for, let's see, I think I started with them last year, soon after I graduated. I think I started seeing clients in November, so I've been with them since November.
Yeah, can you tell me a little background about the initiative?
Yeah, so the initiative really focuses on trying to expand and get therapy services, free therapy services to communities that are a little bit, don't have as easy access, like the rural spaces of Virginia. And especially with communities who don't have insurance, who can't afford therapy. And so there's such a huge need for better connectivity. And I think the basis of ETMHI really came out of seeing how well people responded to having more access to therapy through COVID in terms of, like telehealth therapy and just, like video services and everything like that. And so kind of creating a network and collaborating with Virginia's free clinics who are always well connected to the people in their community and kind of just creating an overall better communication, better collaboration, and network to get people connected to services.
Yeah, what were some of the challenge that therapists faced during COVID?
Yeah, it was, I think one of the biggest things is doing therapy through telehealth is such a different dynamic than doing it face to face, like in the same room. And some people take to it, some people love telehealth, and other people just aren't, it's not as well suited for them. And so I think that was the biggest thing of, some people just don't feel like they really benefit from having a physical space that they can go to that feels safer for them to share their difficulties. And another huge aspect of it is, individuals who, like parents who are trying to get access to services and are trying to do services while they still have their kids. The level of distractions increases a lot when you're doing, services through throughout COVID and even, in general with video services. There's also the difficulty of an extra layer of clients who come in who are in abusive or unhealthy relationships, and that makes it more difficult for them to feel comfortable or even feel like they can access those services because their home is automatically not even a safe space.
How does it feel for you to be helping others?
I love it. I adore it. I feel so grateful every day to be able to create a space and to I don't know, it's such an honor to be the person that helps people through their own difficulties and to, lend a hand in that way. I haven't been doing it for a super, super long time now. I graduated last year, in May. Yeah, so it's only been a year that I've been in it, but it already, like I work with teenagers, I work with young adults, I work with older adults, and watching them take control of their own lives and build their confidence and feel like they have a voice and create confidence in their own voices, it's amazing. And I feel grateful to be able to be any form part of it every day.
Yeah, that brings me up to my next question is, have you seen the confidence level rise with your clients?
Yeah, yeah, I have. And what's really amazing is that I think a lot of times people forget how long of a process it can be sometimes. And it takes time and it takes commitment. And for a lot of my clients who have that, I have clients who I've been, working with for a year plus now. With starting, like I started with some of them before I had even graduated in an internship, and they continued with me and they followed me through the different places that I've been going. And so that ability to have that longevity of services, and create that foundational important connection between like client and therapist, especially with my teenagers who, struggle, who are like going through this phase of wanting to be more independent and wanting to find their own voice and encouraging that and validating them to be who they want to be. It's so invigorating to, especially with my teenagers, to see them like grow, like literally grow and change like throughout the duration of services because, maturity is a huge part of it. Cognitive abilities is a huge part of it. So being able to see like actual changes happening, and see them connect and, understand different ideas differently throughout the time of services, it's so cool.
What do you do to help your own mental health?
Um, I mean, I obviously am a huge advocate of therapy. I've been in therapy multiple years of my own life. I go in and out with it, depending on if I feel like I need it or if I feel like I'm in a good spot. Obviously, self-care is a huge thing with the mental health workers and, everybody in this field. So I have a lot of like my own hobbies that I love to do. I try to set really good boundaries with, when I'm at work and when I'm not at work. Communication boundaries with my clients, when I'm checking emails, all of that. So just, I think the thing that has really been helpful for me is setting kind of like time limited boundaries, time specific boundaries of when I'm in that headspace and when I'm not.
Yeah, what would you say to anyone going through a tough time?
I think one of the biggest things that I would say that I think impacts a lot of people is remembering that you are not the first and not the only person to be struggling with such things. I've noticed a lot of times that people who get a better understanding that there are others and there are so many people that struggle, it really alleviates that feeling of isolation and feeling alone through it. So I would say, yeah, like find people that you can rely on. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be therapy.
Yeah.
Therapy is not for everybody, and that's super valid. But finding friends or finding, some form of social support that makes you feel heard and makes you feel understood, I think is a huge, huge part of it.
So where do you want to see your therapy mission in the next like 3 to 5 years?
My therapy mission. Um, that's a really good question. I honestly don't know if I have a solid answer, mainly because I've, I've gone back and forth a lot about what I want my focus to be,
Hmm.
especially like population rise, because I'm Mexican American. I do therapy in Spanish as well, which is one of the biggest things that I do for VTMHI. I'm pretty sure I'm one of their only bilingual therapists at the moment. And there's such a huge need for it. And so I get, I have kind of this push and pull of I love working with adolescents. I love working with teenagers, but I also really have this huge calling to be an advocate and be a support for my community and my own people who, struggle with getting the access to services that they need and struggling to get, people who can communicate with them in professional settings. So I think right now, I would have to say I am at a spot where I'm really enjoying the journey of it. I'm really enjoying, you know, better understanding what it means to be a therapist. I'm really enjoying, the one-on-one that I get to have with my own clients and being able to be through this journey with them. 5 years from now, I truly do not know in what, in what kind of like role I'll be in, but I do know that it's going to be continuing to do this work, and it's most likely going to be continuing working one-on-one with people.
What is it like working with people in Spanish?
Um, it's really interesting. I love it. I love, being able to offer that service because there's such a need for it. But it's just like it's a whole other layer when it comes to therapy because you have to be really mindful of the cultural influences that go into, certain difficulties that they might be having. And also kind of, balancing the cultural aspects that they're bringing, especially if they're newly immigrated, if they're not first or second generation, if they're newly immigrated, the cultural aspects that they're bringing from their home country and the ones that they're trying to incorporate with now being in the United States and kind of figuring out what's the balance between those two because sometimes those can be in conflict. Um, but yeah, I think a lot of, and also another huge difficulty with it is that, you know, um, Spanish speaking individuals are sometimes really migratory, so they sometimes struggle having a home base, and therapy is really dependent on having a home base and being in one spot. And so that constant moving around kind of inhibits the ability to do long-term care. But I mean, I've worked with a couple of clients. A lot of times it's really just trying to get them connected to community around them and let them know that there are people here who are trying to support them and who want to help and connecting them with those people.
So, how can people reach out and learn more?
Um, I would say the website for VTMHI is always a great place to start. I would say reaching out to an end of like each person's free health clinic and see what they can get connected to, what they're able to access, and everything like that. I think mental health service boards are also a really, really good tool to see which services are available for their specific area, if there are any, specialty programs in their different localities. But for VTMHI specific, I would definitely say, checking out the website, talking to, I think they have a list of the free health clinics that they work with. Yeah, I think that would be a really good place to start.